Kamusta mga kapong Pinoy? Surprise! Excited na akong imbitahin kayong lahat na manood sa mga laban ko. Sobrang di ko pa mapaniwala. Maraming salamat sa suporta. Sana patuloy yung suporta niyo sa
No one expected tears that day. No one expected diamonds to become destiny. And absolutely no one expected a 20-year-old Filipina tennis player to walk into a quiet room in Auckland and walk out having changed the way the sports world looks at her forever. I've followed tennis long enough to recognize moments that fade and moments that explode. I've seen careers turn on match points, sponsorships signed behind closed doors, in press conferences that say a lot while meaning very little. But what unfolded inside the Manuka Doctor Arena after the ASB Classic was not manufactured, not rehearsed, and not forgettable. This was a collision of emotion, legacy, and belief so raw that it stopped seasoned journalists in their tracks. This wasn't just another tennis headline. This was the birth of something bigger, something that transcended rankings, trophies, and prize money. This was the moment Alex Eala stepped into a new orbit, the kind of orbit where sport, culture, and identity collide. Imagine walking into a private media room expecting a routine sponsor announcement, a logo backdrop, a few polite smiles, maybe a handshake. Instead, you're greeted by the chairman of one of New Zealand's most powerful luxury dynasties, standing under bright lights, visibly shaking. Cameras are ready, pens are poised, and then, without warning, this man breaks not a sniffle, not a pause, full emotion, tears running freely as he pulls Alex into an embrace so tight it looks like he's afraid to let go. The room freezes. Veteran reporters who've covered global conflicts and royal scandals don't move. No one interrupts. Because everyone can feel it. This is real. This is human. This is something you don't script. And the question hanging in the air is simple but staggering. What could possibly drive a man who represents 6 generations of power, wealth, and restraint to unravel like this in front of the world? The answer begins with legacy and ends with belief. Because what you're about to hear is not just an update, it's a turning point. The ASB Classic had already delivered drama, noise, and surprise. Auckland had turned electric all week, but when Alex Eala took the court, the energy changed. Filipino flags flooded the stands. Chants rolled through the stadium like waves. Every point she won felt like a national celebration. This wasn't just support, this was identity. Alex didn't merely play well, she connected. Her run wasn't just impressive on paper, it was emotionally magnetic. She played with clarity, fearlessness, and a composure that made people stop asking when she'd arrive and start asking how far she could go. While fans spilled out of the arena, buzzing about forehands and match points, a smaller, carefully selected group was quietly guided to a private room inside the venue. No phones buzzing, no public schedule, just an invitation hinting at a special announcement from Partridge Jewelers, the tournament's official luxury sponsor. Now understand this clearly. Partridge Jewelers is not just a brand. It is an institution, 160 years of history, 6 generations of families, a name associated with Rolex, Patek Philippe, and diamonds so rare they are normally locked away from public eyes. When Partridge speaks, the room listens. When they invite media, you don't ask why. You show up. Grant Partridge stepped onto the stage carrying more than a microphone. He carried the weight of a century and a half of expectation. As 5th-generation chairman, he isn't just running a business, he is guarding a lineage, normally controlled, precise, and corporate. There was something unmistakably different about him that day. His voice wasn't rehearsed. His posture wasn't guarded. Standing beside him was Alex Eala, fresh off the biggest week of her professional career.com, respectful and completely unaware that her life was about to pivot in ways no ranking could capture. The room settled into that rare silence where even the air seems to pause. Grant didn't open with marketing language. He didn't lean on buzzwords or brand slogans. He looked directly at Alex, then turned to the media and delivered words that detonated instantly across the tennis world. Partridge Jewelers, he announced, was gifting Alex Eala their newest high jewelry collection. Not loaning, not endorsing, gifting. The value hundreds of thousands of New Zealand dollars. Let that land. This wasn't a watch. This wasn't a single statement piece. This was a bespoke collection, handcrafted, high jewelry, the kind designed for royalty, red carpets, and history books. The kind that takes master artisans months to complete. and they were placing it all in the hands of a 20-year-old athlete who hasn't yet lifted a WTA trophy. The gasp in the room wasn't subtle, it was collective disbelief. Journalists exchanged looks that said the same thing. This doesn't happen. Not at this stage. Not without Grand Slam titles. Not without years in the top 10. Luxury houses of this magnitude do not make emotional bets. They make calculated ones. And yet here they were, rewriting the rulebook in real time. Grant explained why. He spoke about Alex not as a tennis player, but as a symbol. A bridge between cultures. A representation of discipline, humility, and excellence. Someone who resonates, far beyond lines of someone who carries herself with quiet strength and universal appeal. He spoke about Asia, about connection, about the future, and then came the second revelation, the one that shifted this from extraordinary to seismic. Partridge Jewelers was already deep in discussions to make Alex Eala the official face of the brand. Long-term.
Global?
Think about that. Billboards stretching from Auckland to Manila. Magazine covers. Gala appearances. Campaigns dripping in diamonds. This wasn't sponsorship. This was elevation. This was placing her alongside icons who transformed themselves into global institutions. Federer, Serena Sharapova, names that transcended sport. And Alex Eala, at just 20, was being invited into that conversation. The confidence behind that decision was staggering. But the moment that followed is what changed everything. Grant handed the microphone to Alex. Anyone who follows her knows she is composed beyond her years. Thoughtful, measured, never chasing hype. She didn't deliver a polished PR statement. She spoke with sincerity. She talked about the warmth of New Zealand, about the Filipino community in Auckland who made her feel at home, about the honor of being trusted by a family whose legacy stretches back generations. Her gratitude wasn't loud, it was real. And something about that authenticity cracked the room wide open. The energy shifted. This was no longer about diamonds or deals. It became about connection. And that's when Grant Partridge broke. His eyes filled. His composure dissolved. This man who negotiates fortunes, who shoulders generational responsibility, who commands boardrooms without blinking, stood on that stage and cried, not quietly, not privately, openly. And then he stepped forward and embraced Alex with a depth that stunned everyone watching. This wasn't business. This was paternal, protective, deeply human. Cameras flashed wildly, but it didn't matter. In that moment, legacy met legacy, and the world witnessed it. That embrace was not an ending. It was a doorway. To understand why that moment hit so hard, you have to understand the man behind the tears. Grant Partridge isn't just a luxury executive chasing headlines or relevance. His entire life is built around one idea: stewardship. The belief that what you inherit is never truly yours. It's something you protect, nurture, and pass forward stronger than you received it. 6 generations before him laid stones he now stands on. Every decision he makes is weighed against history, against family, against the promise that the Partridge name will mean something long after he's gone. When he looked at Alex Eala, he didn't just see a gifted athlete. He saw a mirror. A young woman carrying expectations far heavier than her years. A competitor who isn't playing only for herself, but for millions who see their own hopes reflected in her journey. Every time Alex walks onto a court, she carries the weight of a nation that has waited decades for a global tennis hero. 110 million Filipinos don't just watch her matches, they feel them. They celebrate her wins like national holidays and absorb her losses like personal heartbreaks. That responsibility doesn't show up on a stat sheet, but it shapes every step she takes. Grant recognized that instantly. Legacy recognizes legacy. And that recognition cracked something open inside him. This wasn't about a marketing campaign, anymore it was about values aligning across continents. Discipline, humility, respect for those who came before, the courage to build something that will outlast you. In Alex, Grant saw someone who understands what it means to carry something bigger than yourself and still move forward with grace. That is why the tears were real. That is why the hug mattered. But emotion alone doesn't trigger moves of this magnitude. There was a spark that ignited everything, and it happened on the court. Because Alex Eala didn't just show up at the ASB Classic, she announced herself. From the opening rounds, it was clear something had shifted. Her footwork was sharper. Her shot selection was smarter. Her presence carried authority. She wasn't reacting anymore. She was dictating. Each match added momentum, not just in results, but in belief. Commentators started leaning forward in their chairs. Coaches in the stands began whispering. This wasn't potential anymore. This was arrival. The turning point came in the quarterfinals against Donna Vekic. On paper, this was a test Alex wasn't supposed to pass so convincingly. Vekic is seasoned, battle-hardened, and comfortable under pressure. A former Wimbledon finalist. A player who has lived inside the top 20 and survived the chaos of elite tennis. Experience like that usually exposes youth. But Alex didn't flinch. She dismantled the match with intelligence and courage. She varied pace. She used her developing drop shot like a weapon. Her forehand exploded through the court with purpose. She didn't just match Vecek. She controlled her. It wasn't a lucky win. It was a statement. One that echoed across the tour. This was a player who wasn't asking permission to belong. She was taking space. Even when her run ended in the semifinals against China's Wang Xinyu, the message had already been delivered. The level Alex displayed throughout the week wasn't fringe. It was top tier. Analysts called it top 20 quality tennis. And more importantly, the crowd felt it. Every time Alex stepped onto the court, the atmosphere transformed. Filipino supporters packed the stands, waving flags, chanting, turning each match into a celebration of identity and pride. The noise was relentless. The energy was contagious. Auckland hadn't seen anything like it in years. Grant Partridge was there, watching, absorbing, seeing firsthand what numbers on a spreadsheet could never fully capture. This wasn't just a tennis player. This was a movement, a connection point between sport, culture, and emotion. A once-in-a opportunity wrapped in authenticity. From a business perspective, the decision suddenly made perfect sense. Alex wasn't just marketable. She was magnetic. She reached audiences luxury brands dream of but rarely connect with on a genuine level. She represented aspiration without arrogance, success without entitlement. But beyond logic, there was instinct. An instinct told Grant this was someone you don't just sponsor. This was someone you stand behind. The aftermath of that emotional press conference rippled instantly. Headlines exploded. Social media lit up. Analysts debated whether this was the boldest endorsement move in years. Fans saw something deeper. They saw validation. And then came another milestone that confirmed the timing of it all. Because that semifinal run didn't just earn applause, it earned points. Enough points to push Alex Eala into the top 50 of the world rankings. World number 49. Let that sink in. From junior prodigy to global contender. From qualifying draws and challenger circuits to standing among the top 50 best players on the planet. The climb wasn't smooth. It never is. Injuries? Doubt? Losses? That hurt more than wins feel good. Long days on practice courts far from home. Sacrifices invisible to anyone who only sees match highlights. Alex lived all of it, and now she stood at a threshold few from her background had ever crossed. Rankings don't guarantee futures. Tennis is ruthless that way. One bad stretch can undo months of progress. One inspired run can change everything. That uncertainty is what makes the sport addictive. If Alex could stumble early, or she could ignite, no one knows. But what is certain is that she has already achieved victories that exist beyond scoreliness. She earned the belief of a luxury dynasty that sees her. She earned the respect of legends and peers who recognize substance when they see it. She earned the devotion of millions who see her journey as proof that origin does not limit destiny. And she earned her place on the biggest stages of the sport. The transition from that intimate room in Auckland to the glaring lights of the Australian Open is swift and unforgiving. There is no pause, no easing in. One moment you're being embraced by a chairman in tears. The next, you're stepping onto a court where history is written in real time. The spotlight doesn't ask if you're ready. It just turns on. And yet, everything about Alex suggests she has been preparing for this her entire life. Not just the training sessions, not just the tactical drills, but the emotional discipline. The ability to stay grounded when praised and resilient when doubted. The jewelry she received is breathtaking, but it isn't what defines her. It's a symbol, a physical acknowledgement of values seen by others. The real power lies in her mind, her work ethic, and the quiet fire that fuels her game. As she moves forward, Alex carries more than diamonds in her bag. She carries belief. From mentors who shaped her, from a family who sacrificed, from a nation that dreams through her, and from a man who saw in her the continuation of something sacred. The next chapter isn't written yet, but the stage is set. And every eye is watching. Now the story accelerates. Because moments like the one in Auckland don't exist in isolation. They follow athletes onto the court. They echo in quiet hotel rooms the night before a match. They sit in the back of the mind when the stadium lights come on and the first ball is tossed into the air. As Alex Eala prepares for Melbourne, she isn't just arriving with a higher ranking or a new endorsement narrative, she's arriving with expectation. The kind that can either sharpen you into something unstoppable or weigh you down if you're not built for it. And everything about Alex's journey suggests she is built for exactly this kind of pressure. Her entire career has been a slow conditioning process for moments when the world suddenly starts paying attention. From leaving home at a young age to train abroad, to stepping into elite academies where talent alone is never enough. Alex learned early that nothing is given. Every session mattered. Every loss carried a lesson. Every small win was a brick, laid towards something bigger. The sacrifices weren't glamorous. They were lonely. They were repetitive. They demanded belief long before proof ever showed up. That's why the attention surrounding her now feels different. It didn't arrive early. It arrived. Earned. When Alex walks into Melbourne Park, she will not just be another name in the draw. She will be a symbol of momentum, of possibility, of a future that suddenly feels close enough to touch. The Australian Open is brutal in its honesty. It doesn't care about sentiment. It doesn't reward hype. It exposes everything. Fitness nerves, decision-making, belief. One loose service game can end months of preparation. One fearless performance can redefine a career. Alex knows this. She has studied these courts. She has watched her heroes compete. Here and now, she steps into that same arena carrying more than personal ambition. She carries representation. Young girls across Asia will wake up early to watch her play. Families will gather around screens. Dreams will quietly rearrange themselves in living rooms thousands of miles away. That kind of influence doesn't come with instructions. You learn to hold it by living it. And Alex has already shown she understands that responsibility. What stands out most about her isn't just her technique or her court intelligence. It's her emotional control. In an era where young stars are pushed into narratives they didn't choose, Alex has stayed remarkably centered. Praise hasn't clated her. Pressure hasn't cracked her. She speaks with gratitude, not entitlement. She listens more than she talks. That steadiness is why people believe in her so deeply. It's why figures like Rafa Nadal see something worth investing in. It's why Grant Partridge didn't see a marketing asset, but a young woman aligned with values he spent a lifetime protecting. That alignment matters more than any contract. As the tennis world debates, draws, matchups, and potential upsets, there's a quieter storyline unfolding. One about growth. About whether Alex can translate belief into execution on the sport's biggest stage. There are no guarantees. Tennis doesn't offer them. She could run into a seasoned champion on a hot streak. She could face nerves that test her limits. Or she could catch fire, string together wins, and turn Melbourne into the next chapter of her rise. That uncertainty is what makes this moment electric. But regardless of how the scoreboard reads, Alex has already crossed a line few ever do. She has become a reference point. A reminder that greatness doesn't have one accent, one passport, or one starting point. That excellence can emerge from anywhere if nurtured with discipline and courage. The diamonds she now wears are striking, but they don't define her worth. They reflect it. They're symbols of trust placed in her future. But the real treasures are invisible. The mental resilience, built through setbacks. The humility learned through struggle. The confidence forged in moments when no one was watching. That is what will carry her through the chaos of elite competition. As she steps onto court, she won't be alone. She will be surrounded by belief. From coaches who saw her potential early, from mentors who guided her without ego, from a luxury chairman who saw in her the continuation of something timeless, from millions of Filipinos who see her as proof that their dreams belong on the global stage. Pressure like that can crush, or it can elevate. And everything we've seen from Alex suggests it will elevate. Because she hasn't chased attention, she's chased excellence. The attention simply caught up. When historians look back on careers, they often point to moments that marked a shift. Not a title, not a ranking, but a moment when perception changed. When belief became collective, that press conference in Auckland may well be one of those moments. Not because of the diamonds, not because of the tears, but because it revealed something true, that Alex Eala is no longer just a promising player. She is a figure people are willing to invest in emotionally, culturally, and symbolically. As the season unfolds, the questions will come fast. Can she handle the spotlight? Will the expectations help or hinder her? Is this the year she breaks through, or the year she learns what it truly costs? There are no simple answers. But there is one certainty. The world is watching now. Closely, intently. With hope, Grant Partridge will be watching. Pride still wet behind his eyes. Rafa Nadal will be watching, seeing the return on belief. And an entire nation will be watching, hearts aligned with every swing of her racket. Alex Eala has already given us a story that reaches beyond tennis. What comes next could redefine what is possible. And that is why this moment matters. Not because it is loud, but because it is real. The journey is just beginning.